Hello. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to The Joy is in the Journey. I'm Gina, and I am a practitioner. I am blessed to be a practitioner in service on this wonderful New Thought Media Network. What a gift it is to be part of this. And I am also the spiritual director of the Boston CSL, but I'm the host for The Joy is in the Journey. Today, we are here on this show to talk about what brings you joy, how to increase your joy. See, I'm a firm believer of who doesn't want more joy in their lives. I also host the Peace Circle on Monday nights. Who doesn't want more peace? See, all of these things sound wonderful. And how do you get there? These aren't just sound bites. To me, it's so important to expand how we bring joy into our lives and also the people that we love. So this show is an opportunity for me to bring people in and let them tell you about what brings joy to their lives and what they offer are different modalities, different jobs, different services to bring joy into your life. So I am so grateful to be here. And today's guest is a friend of mine. So I've been looking forward to this today and knowing that as we have fun together, you'll be having fun with us. So I thank you for being here with us. And it's so important to remember the joy is in the journey. It is in each moment. We are not here going on destination happiness, as I call it, waiting for something to happen. We are here to make things happen. So as I introduce my next guest, this is a woman that definitely brings joy into so many people's lives, in addition to just mine, which she definitely does. This woman is her actual position is Adult Services Coordinator at Goodwill Southern New England. And she has been someone that I met originally through Toastmasters. She's also a Rotarian, the past president of the North Providence Club, and currently the secretary of it. But she's so much more than that. She has been giving to people and adult services for years. She also works with all ages. But I want to talk about today what is out there, because we all, if it's not us that are home looking for something new or something more or something, there's plenty of people that feel lost and don't know how. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm bringing in my good friend that I am blessed to call that, Carol Newberry. Welcome to The Joy is in the Journey, Carol. How are you today?
Thank you. Very well, thank you. Pleased to be here.
It is wonderful to have you here. And when I first asked you, you were kind of like, well, about what? And it is so important, the work that you do. And I want to talk about that because we also even work together. I was also given that privilege to be there for a while. And the people that you serve and work with are beautiful. It is a demographic that is often forgotten about. And when I say, there are people that are underserved and misunderstood, there's a lot of people that have different types of disabilities. Being disabled, if someone's in a wheelchair, people know it, they see that, they acknowledge that, they can respect that, well, hopefully. But there are a lot of challenges that people cannot see. You can't see if somebody's on the spectrum.
Right.
You cannot see if somebody is on emotionally, what things have happened in their lives. You can't see PTSD. You cannot see the challenges, whether they be physically or emotional. You can't necessarily see what people are going through or have gone through.
That is correct.
And can you give me your experience around that? What is your frustration when I say that?
I think my biggest frustration is that frequently people don't give the people with whom I work enough credit for what they are able to do. And I think that sometimes we focus on disability, as opposed to focusing on what people can do. And that has been perhaps the biggest challenge, to get society in general to see that people are capable of many things. And to watch them, you ask me what brings me joy, but to watch people grow, to watch them blossom, to watch them uh, I'll call it whole again, so to speak, whether it be from the inside. Just I have probably 1,000,001 stories that, I could share that highlight the impact of having somebody believe in you, having somebody encourage you, having somebody tell you you can do it, and then watch them do it. So, I
And
mean, that's very rewarding.
tell me about, tell us about your program that you run, or what is it that Goodwill does? Because most people
I
have
know.
heard of Goodwill, but they
Yeah,
don't know exactly what that. Until I worked there, I really didn't know.
I know. And usually when people think of Goodwill, the first thing they think of are stores. And actually, in Rhode Island, at least, and many other states, but in Rhode Island, I'll focus on that. We rely on stores and we rely on donations of goods and clothing, because those donations get turned into funding that help to support our vocational rehabilitation programs. So when I say we help people find jobs, it's helping people even create jobs. It's your donation of your cast off clothing that no longer fits, or that, even clothing that is, more than gently worn. It may not end up in the stores, but we actually even recycle all of that and make money to put back into programs as well. The other part to it is that frequently it also helps to create jobs, because we're able to have people start working in the stores and start learning and practicing and, trying out things to see what works. If we have to make accommodations, for example, if someone had a stroke and they have, either one-sided weakness, what do they need to help them do their job? And that allows us to be able to practice and put into practical use the little accommodations that help make people more productive, for example. So I know it's strange, and also because I believe that in Rhode Island, I always would say Goodwill is one of the best kept secrets in terms of, what we actually do. Goodwill started many, many years ago, and I have to just kind of step back and kind of give a little bit of history. Before we were Goodwill, we were known as various other names of the organization. But actually, we began in 1863. We were formed by a group of people who were called the Irrepressible Society. And the
Love the
Irrepressible
name.
Society, yes, was made up of wealthy women that came from, we'll say Providence and the surrounding area. And they had a desire to help Civil War veterans who were returning home that were hurt during the war and could not take care of families. And that's where we ended up getting our start in 1863. And we
So
are,
all of Goodwill started in New England.
well, not all of Goodwill, but the Irrepressible Society started what is currently Goodwill of one of the Goodwills of Southern New England. We started out, we went through several name changes: Bureau of the Handicapped, community workshops, vocational resources. And then in 1990s, the late 1990s, we became affiliated with Goodwill Industries. We were then known as Goodwill Industries of Rhode Island. In probably 3 years ago, we were merged with Connecticut, one of the Goodwills in Connecticut, and in New Haven, Connecticut, or North Haven, Connecticut. And they have a lot of stores that are on the eastern side of Connecticut. They ended up taking us over, and we became merged with them into one entity, uh, Goodwill of Southern New England. And it also includes actually one store in Massachusetts that had been operated by Morgan Memorial Goodwill from Boston, but they ended up taking over that store in Attleboro as well on Route 1. So, yeah.
The programs, one of the things you said was vocational rehabilitation.
Yes. So,
And I
what does,
just want to, no,
yeah.
I just want to mention, because for me, what that means, because I, having worked there,
Mhm.
like it's a term that sounds, very cold. What it, like you were saying in the beginning, though, it's the difference of helping someone realize they're capable.
Yes. It's
We
giving
have,
someone a hand up, not a hand out.
yes,
Um,
teaching someone what they can do. So when you walk into and you're training them, they're seeing, they're experiencing, they're in the environment and seeing that they can do something. And the
yes.
light that goes on, one of my experience when I was there, my my position was the leap coordinator, and that program was Learn to Earn education program. And what we did is, in the matter of a month, we got people from welfare to work. And these were people that did different types of disabilities, whether they be physical, intellectual, emotional. And I mean, I had one client that had really never worked. I've had people that never had a checking account. I had people that barely knew how to write or read, and they functioned through life or as best that they could. And a lot of them used anger or rage as a defense mechanism. Because if you hate me and you don't get close to me, then you don't know I can't read.
Right. And
They would,
for many people too, they've spent their whole life fighting against something, fighting against teachers, fighting against a boss, fighting against society rules, I'll say sometimes. So it's what they know. The first thing that you revert back to is that
yes.
fighting stance.
And when you grow up in certain environments, it's that you put on that mask of who you're supposed to look like, what you're supposed to, so people don't mess with you. And I remember being in one woman's meeting that we were talking with her social worker, and we were talking as a group trying to help her, and she said, and these people, they are always giving me these dirty looks. And this woman looked so miserable. She looked angry, like she was going to lunge at you. And she was with you and liked you. I'm like, what is she like on the bus? No wonder people are looking at her. And it's being able to create a rapport with these individuals, that you are caring for them and they know you care. So
Mhm.
you can say, do you know what you're putting out? Because
Right.
you're receiving back what you're putting out. And
Mhm.
it takes a rapport to be able to do that, because it's not being against someone, it's trying to help them. And it
Yes.
takes someone that really does care. And the
Mhm.
gift is whatever you put in, you always get back out. That's life in a nutshell. It's not just about karma with these. Any one of them that you put something into, the gift that you get out is miraculous. To see them succeed, it's like it's your kid. And in
Yes.
a matter of a month, the transformation that I would see, just miraculous.
Mhm.
There were social workers would say, they actually want to work. I'm like, they're supposed to. That's why they came here. They're supposed to be looking for jobs. They're supposed to be, that's why,
But
they
they
came here.
Yes, but they never felt judged. They never felt like people looked down upon them. And that you're right, it is very much in that relationship that you build with people, and give them that human touch. Everybody at the bottom line, I think all of us want to belong. And some of us just have different paths or a harder path to figure out where we do belong, you know. And that's,
I
I think, also the reward of helping people find their path, um, and feel like they belong, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. I think one of the best, well, not I think, but one of the best compliments I have ever gotten in all my years of doing this was that a gentleman ended up sharing with another professional in the field that I was the only one that treated him like a person. And that to me touched my heart. I mean, you asked me what brings me joy. I mean, it's sad in some ways that many people didn't treat him or
Heartbreaking
treated him less
that in
than.
his whole life, you're the
Yes.
first person that treated him like a person.
Yeah, that didn't see his disability, didn't define him by that, but saw beyond that in terms of who he is. He wasn't his disability. Nobody is their disability. Um, it
It's
doesn't.
just it's the equivalent of what color hair do you have?
Exactly.
Or it doesn't matter. It's just a
No,
color. It's just
right.
what different people have different skills and are good at different things. And it doesn't have to look like anyone else to contribute. Everybody wants a life that is fulfilling. And in order to have that life, what it needs to be is productive in a way that's joyful, contributing something to life itself. So I don't want to hear about what you can't do. Tell me and show me what you can.
Right.
And what was sad for a lot of them is they didn't even know.
No.
They knew what they couldn't do. They could rattle that off to you.
Oh, yeah,
And
because they have been told time and time again all of the areas perhaps in which they fell short. And if you hear that enough, you believe that. It's what you always tell me, you put out what you put out, you get back. So it's changing that, even that mindset of
within
helping
them.
them. Yes. Yep. That internal
It's,
compass, so to speak.
and there are plenty of people who have chronic illnesses, or they experience chronic pain. And the truth is, a lot of them were never taught how to take care of themselves.
No.
There are people that had never seen doctors. There were that I had worked with. I had one person that didn't even know how to get himself a primary care doctor, hadn't been to a doctor in years, and was so, like, he literally physically could barely breathe, yet didn't go to a doctor. Eventually would go to the ER, and then again to the ER, but could barely breathe.
Yeah.
When the truth is, it was a sinus infection that just kept getting worse, and this person could have died from, had we not found him a doctor to help go along and for care.
Yeah.
And it may sound to someone like that's ridiculous, but when you weren't taught that you were worth a doctor, when you
Right.
weren't taught that you're worthy of, or what that means, or what it looks like, you don't you know he knew enough to care for his child, but he didn't know how to care for himself. So it's amazing, the layers of it all. And
Mhm.
even when they're I remember people that, well, I have they had chronic pain, and they say, I'm in pain. Well, you're going to be in pain at home.
Yes.
I used to say, you might as well come in and I can entertain you. I'll distract you from it for a while.
Yeah.
And what they did was amazing, because they allowed themselves to live, to get outside of. And I mean, even one that couldn't walk in the front door without a panic attack. Truly, absolutely, like, was on the phone with her doctor within a couple of minutes of walking in the door, and had up the medication, and went like through panic attacks for the first week in the morning, and then ended up having a job working with children, happy as could be.
Yes. Yes.
So it's important, I think, for people to know how real it is.
Oh, yes. Yes. And that's the other part too, because for many people too, they've been told, it's all in your head, or, it's anxiety, or it's, all you need is this, buck up, whatever. And for many people, you hear that and you feel less than, because for some reason it's not as easy as that. It's, if somebody is depressed, you can't just say, well, snap out of it. That is not, that's not the part of it that you can do. you
And
know.
there's a lot of them that, I mean, there were people, even with as far as abusive spouse or relationships, that were, they had 3 or 4 kids in a homeless shelter with them and still made it there every day on time. Took
Yep.
kids to 2 different schools by bus,
By
and
bus.
then got there for a 9 a.m. program.
Right.
So
I agree.
anything is possible.
Right. And to see, like, another example of that, one of the programs that we have is called a vocational evaluation. So what we're looking at are people's skills and abilities, strengths and weaknesses, areas that are maybe a little bit more of a challenge that need to be worked on. And what are the services? If you want to go here and your skills are here, what services do you need to kick in to help you reach your goal? And this gentleman, who hadn't worked in a while but was very excited, and when you talk about the pandemic too, hadn't been out for a long time, a very long time. But he took 3 buses. It took him 2 hours to go from Johnston to Warwick, on 3 buses, and to work, to try out work, and then take those same 3 buses back. So he was on the bus for 4 hours at a shot, and he did it every day for 10 days. Talk about motivated. And that's what people don't always understand. I mean, I am blessed because I happen to have a vehicle. I don't have to take that bus. But even in my head, I kept thinking, wow, that's an awful lot to ask.
That's
To have
commitment.
someone,
That's
yeah, yep, yes, yes, it
And
is.
there are so many people that don't know how to start. It's
Right,
overwhelming.
right.
When you've
They,
been told that you're nothing, when you don't feel capable of, it's not to say there aren't people that are lazy or just want to get a check. I'm not saying they don't exist, but that's not the experience of all there is.
right,
Usually, there's something underneath that of not feeling good enough.
or worthy. They are not worthy of doing things. That's the feeling, the sense that I get. you know and again, you hear that enough, and people don't know where to turn. You're absolutely right. How do you access help? How do you access some of these services? um, there may have been, prior to the pandemic, a little bit more red tape perhaps that you have to go through, but since the pandemic, I mean, there have been some opportunities that the pandemic opened up, to be able to work with, like, if you go through the Office of Rehabilitation Services in Providence, they serve the state as well. They have counselors from all over. They had a wait list for a while before the pandemic. Now it's kind of easy sailing. It's a little bit different in terms of people getting back into doing in-person services, which is yet another issue because many people during the pandemic did not have access. It was not equitable. They did not have access to internet at the same rate as everyone else. So you
There was
can
a
let
lot that happened as a result of that because, and there are a lot of people that experience that. But like you said, if you don't have the internet, you can't do things like that. And there were a lot of services that you had that stopped for a while because everything you did was in house. And it
right,
couldn't be anymore. So you had, just like everybody else, had to figure out how to do them differently. And
yeah.
one of the problems you're facing now is you have less staff. You have
Oh,
just as many clients that really need to be serviced. You have less ability. Then most of it's still not in house.
right,
And you're still, you're trying to come
right.
back to.
Continue on. If you had asked me pre-pandemic if we would ever provide services virtually, I would have said never. All of our services have to be provided in person. And then what happened with the pandemic was it taught us a lot about having to pivot on a dime and come up with something, to be able to still connect with people. And for the people that did have internet service, it was a godsend because it allowed us to connect with people on a personal basis. You still could see people, even though maybe we couldn't be physically sitting in front of one another. Um, but it taught people a lot of technology skills in a very fast time.
I think that was for everybody.
Yes,
Another
yes.
another customers, not clients that you have, some of them that really touched my heart too, personally, because I've been through it, is that they used to be able to do all kinds of things.
Mhm.
And whether it was from an accident, an operation, an illness, something occurred and they were no longer able. And the irony was, as I was teaching this class and I was teaching clients that this was their circumstance, I was diagnosed and went through two major operations for cancer.
Yeah.
So it was just, things happen the way that they're supposed to, and it all, but I was teaching and experiencing at the same time in a lot of ways.
Right.
And, you know, I did what I could do. And I thankfully had people in support, and I could go back to work part-time. But
Hmm.
other people don't always have that option. There are
Yeah.
people that don't know anything about, doing something different or how to do it.
Right.
All they know is they used to have this job and they can't do that anymore. And they feel useless. There's
Hmm.
a lot of emotions that go into when you were making 60,000 a year and now at best you might get 20.
Hmm.
There's a lot of emotions that go along with that.
Right.
When you think of elderly, it's the same thing. These are people that used to have these huge jobs and all of this, and now they retire. And while that's wonderful in some people's perspective, for others, it's devastating. There's a lot of,
Mhm.
especially men, that die within 5 years of retiring because they don't feel
Right.
useful anymore.
Well, and
So,
for so much of our society, we are defined as what we do. Our jobs define us, unlike we're still a person doing that job. But, the first question you meet somebody, oh, what do you do? What do you do? And that's where, for work, like one of the taglines for Goodwill is, we believe in the power of work. And work can be therapeutic, work can be a lifesaver, work can be, your family, work can be who you are, and to not have that or have that taken away, for various reasons, like you said, if it's something that you had a stroke and you can't go back to what you're doing, or you were in a car accident and you can't go back to what you were doing.
people
um,
don't think of it that way. It's so important to, it could be your best friend, it could be someone, it could be you, it can happen to anyone.
yep,
People assume, oh, that would never be them, and God willing it wouldn't be, but the
yes,
truth is, anyone, anything can happen.
yep,
And in that knowing, it's knowing and allowing that there is something, and there's something rewarding out there for everyone.
yes, yes,
So it's using the skills, the transferable skills that you have, to do something differently. And one of the way we would show them that was part of the LEAP program anyway. We would have a business. Everyone
yes.
would start a business. And
Mhm.
we would have these teams with this elaborate business plan. Several that really wanted it. Can you tell us about any of the programs that you love? Tell us about the warehouse program or any of the programs that you love.
Well, I mean, and there are so many, but we do run well, we had before the pandemic. We were able to run a warehouse training program that actually got people OSHA 10 certified and forklift certified. And what it did was allow them to work inside our warehouse at our Providence location. And they learned everything from shipping and receiving to inventory control to safety, a lot of safety stuff, to be able to learn how to use various pieces of equipment, as well as part of that also was helping them come up with a resume, helping them come up with um, helping them apply for jobs, perhaps going with them on their interviews, and also supporting them even once they did find a job. And that, I think, again, those wraparound services are key. It's not like you can just place somebody in a job and say, okay, bye, good luck with your job. Sometimes what happens is people start working and then suddenly they're up for a promotion, or they want to get changed to a different department, and they don't know, it's hard for them to deal with that because they've never had experienced that before as well. So there's a lot of, a change in supervisor. They may have had a very supportive supervisor to start with. Somebody new comes in, they don't understand, and then things can go downhill really quickly. So
Or they
those
may just
wraparound,
need an accommodation. They
exactly, but
may need a change of maybe my child's, I'm having a hard time with childcare. Can I come in at
right,
8:30 instead of
right,
8 a.m. and
right,
stay a half hour later? And
right,
they'll quit a job because they don't know how to say that. They say, well,
exactly.
I just can't work the hours, as opposed
Mhm.
to talking to you and you speak to them and there's a legitimate reason that they're late. They're not late because they want to be late. They've been busting their butt to get there. But the
Well, yeah,
truth is, there's childcare issues. And when
yes,
there's a legitimate reason, people work with you, but they don't know that. A
right,
lot of people have no idea. They've been told all they do is make excuses, or they're not good enough. So they don't feel worthy to ask for things like that. Or if
ex-
they needed a chair because they can't stand up as long, or if
right,
they needed a glare guard on the screen because they have a hard time
right,
with their vision and it gives them migraines.
right. Or they
You know,
just need to wear a hat. So they have the visor in front of them that helps them, maybe like stop some of the fluorescent lighting issues that they have. And
I
I think that, again, I think a lot of even employers were very afraid of making accommodations because they tend to think that means they're going to get sued. They're going to, it's going to be very expensive. It's going to be taking up a lot of time. If they do it for one, they have to do it for everybody. And that's not the case. That's not the equity
There's a
piece of it.
lot of benefits to employers for
Mhm.
having
Oh,
people.
yes.
There's a lot of benefits, and we won't go into all of that. I don't want to go into, because then it can, I want people to know that there's so many options. You're dealing with, there's a lot of people out there that don't know how to begin a resume. Half the
Mhm.
people we worked with never had one.
No, no.
So when you think about some of the things that we take for granted, there's a
Mhm.
lot of people that never knew,
Yes. Right,
never had, they never had their own jacket. They only had hand-me-downs from other people. And you
right.
give them something and they're thrilled. I
Mhm.
remember I brought in when my father transitioned, I brought in his clothes, his suits. And I had donated everything from his shoes to the belts, the ties, everything. And it was, I don't know if it was the same day or the next day, one of the clients was walking through the cafeteria, head to toe, with all of my dad's things on.
Yeah.
And I was just, it took my breath away. And I thought, what a legacy to give,
Mhm.
that he would, who better than someone who wouldn't, is going on an interview and can feel good about themselves, to walk in feeling like they look professional.
Mhm.
People that have never had anything like that can
Right.
feel good about them. And I get tears in my eyes thinking it, like, who better? And I say this specifically because there's a lot of companies out there that ask for donations.
Oh,
And, before I started at Goodwill, I didn't know any difference between them. So I would think that Savers is the same as Goodwill. I always thought it was the same thing. And then
no.
I found out Savers is a for-profit company. Not
Yes.
only are they not helping, but they actually are there to make profit. They tell you that.
Well,
They just,
they get stuff for free, right? You donate
yeah.
to Savers. They're taking the same kinds of stuff. They're making it into a profit for themselves. Yes, they do have a program where they work with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Rhode Island. If they get donations, give it to Savers, and Savers pays them per pound type of thing. But it's that Savers does not. It's a for-profit company, unlike Goodwill, which is a nonprofit company. And I know you may hear that the CEO of Goodwill makes $2 million a year. Usually, that false information comes out right around this time of year. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then they tell you, "Oh, that's a horrible, horrible organization." How can
Well,
the
people from other organizations that are telling you that because they want you to give to them. But the
the
truth
CEO,
is,
yes, the CEO of Goodwill does not make $2 million a year. Even
and the money
local
that they're
ones
giving is
goes
going into
into,
programs.
yes,
And
it
that's
does.
the whole point of Goodwill. And
Yes,
that's
it
why
is.
I say this. I want to make sure people know. And it's not just Goodwill. There's a lot of different organizations that do these type of programs within your community, because this
Yes.
is worldwide. So what I encourage people is look for places that have vocational rehabilitation.
Mhm.
Really, that are in this place, that there's coaching and caring for people of all ages. And I know they have a summer works program. You have one that goes, so you work for people from like 16 to 70. You
16 to
work for people,
70. Yes. Yep. And just
and
because
it's
you're 70
beautiful.
or over 65 doesn't mean that you're not eligible for service.
And it's everyone from people that are blind, visually impaired, hearing impaired, all
Yes.
kinds of things. And
Mhm.
it's not about looking at someone and what they can't do. It's about finding what you can.
Yeah.
You know,
Looking, yep.
that's
Look,
everybody has something that they're good at. And
yes.
that's what it comes down to, is being able to see the best in someone and
Mhm.
invest in someone.
Yeah. And see
So
the potential in people as well. For many people, they were just, on the fringe of society, so to speak, and never expected to do much of anything. And now they're given the opportunity to be able to become productive members of society, have a job just like anyone else, and be able to do it and do it well. And it's a wonderful thing to watch.
it is.
Mhm.
It's a gift to watch. We used to have graduations and it was only a month, but it
Yes, that
felt
was
like
good.
so much more. And I'd be in tears, and parents, and I mean this was a month-long program. And I mean I had parents say that it changed their child like nothing ever had. You
Well,
know,
look at what they've given now. Their legacy to their children is to show them that this is not all there is. You are capable of many things. You are able to do many things. The world is your oyster. You can be whatever it is that you want to be, you know, which is, a gift. What a gift that is.
I had a client, I would say 2, 3 years after the program at least. I saw them and they were working, and she said, I'm the employee of the month. And I'm like, and I said, you should be, because this was someone I would be tough on people sometimes when I knew that they could, and when they made excuses, I wouldn't allow it. It wasn't
Yep,
an option. Yeah,
yep,
if there's a real reason, that's fine. But if it's just because you never did before, that's not an excuse. And this is someone that the first day was yelling and screaming and swearing in the bathroom of how you laugh because I swear they want me to do what, and they expect me to be on time, and by the end the mom was saying her whole life changed,
yep,
and years later tracking me down in the store to tell me that certificate is the only thing hanging on the wall in her kitchen,
yep,
and it means that much to her, and she's
yep,
worked ever since.
yep. And nobody wanted the program to end after a month.
And
Can't we
it's
keep
just,
going? Can't we keep going?
so these are people that, to start, most of them didn't want to be there, most of them, and then none of them wanted to leave.
Right.
So
Mhm.
it's just, it's so important that we look into things that we don't know about. Like
Yeah.
sometimes we think we know. There's a lot of good that you can do, and whoever it may be that's watching this, it is so fulfilling to help other people in
Mhm.
this way. And how can people get involved?
Oh, many ways, many ways. Contact your any of the local nonprofits that are operating in Rhode Island.
Or no, this is worldwide. So in general,
Oh,
what are some of the larger nonprofits that help people with rehabilitation?
well, Amos House is one. They have some great programs. I mean, I think a lot of people think of Amos House as being the agency that does a soup kitchen, but they also have a culinary program to train the people to make the food for the soup kitchen. They have a carpentry program that allows many, many people an opportunity for a second chance, as well as to get OSHA certification and lead abatement even certification, which
Well,
is
what are
great.
some of the other organizations, like some of the big organizations, like
Um,
Goodwill, for example? Does Red Cross? Who is it that helps in this way?
well, Goodwill happens to be the one. Easter Seals is another one that people may know of in other states too. They're a bigger organization that work with a lot of people to help them get hired and find their vocational goals as well. We have a lot
Big
of
Brothers and Big Sisters
Big
are a
Brothers,
wonderful program as
Big
well
Sisters.
because they're investing time in people. It
Yes.
can be anything like that. It can even be going to your local high school and,
Yep.
and letting people shadow you
Yep.
as far as a
Perspective. Yep.
mentee.
Perspectives Corporation is a large one in Rhode Island as well. They're able to, they work with a range of people as well. They have very specific programs for deaf and hearing impaired people, services for the blind and visually impaired through the Office of Rehab Services for the state. Another wealth of resources and information for anyone that has visual impairments. And
What
a
about for
wide
people on the spectrum, on the
um,
autism spectrum? Are there any organizations that you know of
yes,
that you've worked with?
yes. And I lost it in my
Would it be
mind.
their local rehab services can point them
Yes,
towards?
but there's one on the east side of Providence. They run the Code Center. It's for, and it's
No
gone
worries.
my head. I'm sorry.
But if anyone has a question in a
Groden
particular,
Center. The
what is
Groden,
it?
the Groden Center.
Okay.
Yeah. Also,
So,
yeah.
but they can make donations to different organizations
Oh
as
yeah.
far as not only, find out where it goes. That's what I would encourage people. If you're donating things, find out where it goes. Not
Yeah.
just that, oh, I'm giving to the poor. Make sure that it's going to some different programs. Or you can look online and find out how it goes to them and what it works. So
You can also check out the United Way runs a 211 informational network to
they're
even if
wonderful.
you're looking for things that you're going to need or looking for something that somebody else might need. And they're a wealth of information to try to hook people up with the services that they need for United Way.
And one of the other things, because the time just flies by, but one of the other things that I wanted to talk about is your work with the Rotary Club. You're
my God.
Rotarian, and one of the things that really touched my heart was one of the programs that the Rotarians are known for is, unbeknownst to me, a dictionary program where you actually go into, I know you had done third grade, and
Yeah.
you go in and you give kids dictionaries. That students would get their own dictionary. And
Yeah.
it's an actual book, which these days doesn't necessarily happen often.
And it's more than just a dictionary. It's called a dictionary and gazette, but it has so many things in it. It has a Braille alphabet. It has the sign language alphabet. It has stuff on every single president, including Biden. So that's one of the things that, it has the Constitution. It has the words to the Star-Spangled Banner and music. It has multiplication tables. It has different information on like math kind of things, like shapes, the names of shapes, what they look like, measurements. Also,
in general, though, it's got a lot of information.
Yes, it does.
And
it does.
Can you explain what these kids are like when you
Oh.
tell them they're theirs?
Oh my gosh! So we put in the middle. We work Rotary works, well, the Rotary Club of North Providence works very closely with the Fraternal Order of Police Associates, Lodge number 13. And we have been working together for, oh my gosh, close to probably 15 years at least, with giving out dictionaries to third graders in North Providence. And so in the beginning of the book, we have a little book plate that we put in, and we ask them to write their names in it. And half the kids are it's interesting. They don't want to write it in pen. They'll write it in pencil. And they're like, we can keep this book? Do you mean I can take this home? And it's like, yes, it's your book to do with what you want. I'm going to take this home and I'm going to show this to my mom. Wait till she sees this. And
they
it's
get
really
so
interesting.
excited.
They do. There's the longest word in the English language in there, 1,909 characters. They laugh about that because it's like, well, would you like that for a spelling word? No. But it makes them, and they go to their laptops, their Chromebooks now, and they look up how to pronounce that word. So even despite all of the reliance on technology, the fact that you can check anything on your phone, on this Chromebook, whatever, have a book in their hand is very, very precious to them. And they are so like, thank you. I wish that I could take pictures or like record some of the kids that are just so excited to get this, and what the other piece is that's nice is that many people in North Providence now, the students, have older brothers and sisters that may have gotten also a dictionary. And it's not just for third grade, but we figure that by the time they're there, one of the things that is very important to Rotary, it's one of our avenues of focus, is education and literacy. So it doesn't have to be that Rotary can build schools in other countries, but they can help with literacy within our own country.
It's
Starting
getting
with
excited about learning.
Oh,
You
yes.
get the opportunity to see these children be excited about learning,
Yes.
of all things, over a dictionary.
Over
But
a dictionary.
it doesn't matter what it's about. It's that you're there caring and giving them something. So
Yes.
I encourage people really to find a way to give in that way.
Rotary
To
is an
firsthand.
excellent one. Yes, I will put my plug in for Rotary. Rotary has their 7 avenues of focus that we have. Everything from the newest one is the environment, to clean water, to health, to literacy, to sanitation. And again, it's worldwide. 1.2 million Rotarians in the world. But if people are looking for ways to give back and to make a difference, and not only a difference in the world or your community, but inside yourself.
Yes.
There's an awful lot of leadership development that can happen. They have partnered also with Toastmasters. So, in terms of being able to be a more effective communicator, that's another way that they've partnered up.
And another thing too that I love about it is that you invite people from your community, people that do different things come and you learn about all kinds of different programs, all different kinds of, whether it be businesses or opportunities. There's so many different people that you get to hear from. So it is a wonderful tool. And
Yes.
it's so important that we get out of our little shells of that, because that's when the ego starts. I believe that's when the ego is overwhelming, and that's when that's where the drip of joy can go away sometimes.
Yes.
When
Yes.
our world is just this big,
Yep.
it's hard to keep the light. But the more we open up and give back, the more that light radiates.
Yes. Well, the whole motto of Rotary is service above self, and how you become by giving. And people, and I have to say, don't think it's your grandfather's Rotary anymore, because it is not. It's not just a bunch of businessmen sitting around in suits at lunch. What they want to really promote is that Rotarians are people of action. that are wanting to do something to make a difference, because again, the difference you make in your community ends up making the biggest difference within your own self. And no matter where you go, it's like Toastmasters too. No matter where you go, you have friends, you have people that are like-minded individuals, that are, friends that you just haven't met yet.
Well, on that note, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being here with us. And, thank you for giving us a little insight into what a great opportunity it is, because there are so many people out there that don't feel qualified or don't feel that they're capable. And what I would encourage you to do is reach out to me. And you can, whether it's through Facebook or whether you're reaching out to me on just by email, however it is, you can reach out to me and I can ask Carol a question for you, or we can find you resources of how to give back. Or if you're feeling like you could use the resources, yes, reach out. Know that there's someplace, even though we're in Rhode Island, but there's resources all over the world. We'll help you find what you need for you.
Yep.
So please reach out to me and I will get you an answer one way or another. And thank you. Is there anything?
Right? No judgment.
And it's not about judgment. It's wherever someone's coming from. I applaud anyone that ever wants to better themselves. As a life coach, I have had people that were, I've had people that had degrees and I've had the top of their career not knowing what they wanted to do with their life. They were literally miserable. They had everything on the outside, but they were miserable. And I've worked with people that had nothing, that had such joy in their lives. So it's not, in the end, the one that was happiest wins. That's the way that it works. It's joy in the journey for a reason. It's not about what you accumulate or what you think you have or don't. It's simply about how happy is the walkthrough. Like, as you're on your path today, may you find joy.
Yes.
And Carol, thank you for being here. You are a blessing to me and so many, and what you do is a gift. So thank you for doing it. Thank you for being you. And I thank you all for watching and being part of this episode today. And remember that there are people out there that can help you get there. I am also a life coach. You can reach out to me for coaching as well at Gina at Believe in You Today. Carol's been to many of my workshops.
Yes, I heartily recommend them.
And know that this network, New Thought Media Network, we are here because of people just like you. Remember to go and support. That way the flow keeps happening. ntmedia.org. Thank you so much for being here. You are a blessing. Thank you all for watching. I wish you all a magnificent day and an absolutely joy-filled journey. Blessings and love, everyone. Namaste.